I'm Ibrahim, and for 5 years I've been playing golf, and I've always wondered how technology and golf intersect and whether this can affect my game or not. And with this second opportunity to create a personal passion project, I chose to call my project What's Inside Golf and delve deeper into the subject of the technologies inside golf. So first, I want to talk about some general terms and concepts that you should understand before I go into this presentation, because golf, people who do not play it will not really understand the things I'm talking about. I will talk about, and so I want to clarify this for everyone. So generally, this is a regular golf hole, and so you would probably play your first shot somewhere back here, and then this light green part is called the fairway, and generally it's easier to play from because the ground is more firm, and this more dark greenish part is called the rough, and it's generally harder to hit out of. And as a golfer, you're always trying to hit into the fairways and try to avoid the hazards such as either lakes or bunkers. These little sand pits you can see everywhere are called bunkers, and generally they're very hard to hit out of, and it's something that you should always try to avoid while playing golf. This extra light green patch over here is called the green, and that's where you see the little hole cup with the flag that is always symbolized with golf. And then you use a putter for working around the greens, and that's used for very small shots around the green. And even though it seems quite simple, you lose the most strokes in golf on the green. And so the club that we use for hitting longest and to just smash it, rip it down the fairway, is called the driver, and it usually has a big club head, and it's lighter than the other clubs, so that when you hit the ball, there's more of a bounce to give the ball more distance. And there are also woods and hybrids, which are basically, they are the same but have much smaller heads, and you can hit those off the ground. The driver has less loft, and the loft is measured. We'll use my half of a club head here. The loft is measured when you have the club head like this, and then this angle over here, this is the loft of the club, and this is a 56-degree wedge, so this loft is 56 degrees. So generally a driver has anywhere in between 8.5 to 12 degrees of loft, and then with 3 wood and 5 wood and the rescue, and all of those are going from bigger to smaller heads. These they have more loft as you go from 3 wood to 5 wood to rescue. And then we move into irons, which you might hear the term 9 iron, 8 iron, 7 iron. And 9 iron, for example, I hit my 9 iron 120 yards. My 8 iron goes 10 yards further at 130. 7 iron 140, 6 iron 150, and so and so. And then there's the wedges, these wedges, and I cut open this. I'll delve into that deeper later on, but mainly they're for working when you need more loft to send the ball higher and to make it stop and control it when you're nearby to the greens. So generally, let's say this is an extra long hole, you would hit your driver somewhere around here. From back, just try to rip it. 3 wood, hit it around here. Maybe an iron onto the green, and if you miss anywhere around the green, which actually seems, it would seem to you that it would be easy to hit the green, but it's actually very challenging. From around the green, you would use a wedge, and then a putter for on the green. Moving on to the putters, I'm gonna go from putters for working around within feet, from like half a foot to 34 feet and so on, but around the greens. And I'll go up by distance into the drivers at the end. So we'll start with putters, and Scotty Cameron, the Select Newport 2.5, is Titleist, one of the biggest names in golf. It's its newest putter, and you can see here there are several grooves on the face of the putter, and these allow for more feel around the greens. And you can see this outline in the middle of the face, and that's an insert slot where the this part has been inserted, and there's like a small weight here. It has been inserted in for more weight distribution, and these two little red weights, you can change the different weights on this. And basically, if your putting swing, let's say, is going like this, which would generally make the ball go towards the left, you can add more weight on the top of the club to redirect your putting swing, let's say. And this can also be done vice versa, and generally more people close to the left. So the Scotty Cameron has increased toe flow, which helps with this front red weight. Moving on to the wedges, and the wedges, the Cleveland 588 Rotex or RTX with the Rotex face, and Cleveland's newer version of this, the 588 RTX 2.0. The original 588 RTX is actually the wedge I use, and I had a spare 56-degree wedge, so I thought I would cut it open into two halves to show you what it would look like. And here it is. You can see there's this small insert slot in here for the club, and generally it's just solid metal, but you can see also scratches which connect the two parts of the club here. Yeah, and this is a club from the back, but you can also see this is the cavity back version of the club. This is the muscle back, which and you can see this one doesn't have as much detail on the back, but that's just the way you want to play it. It depends. And you can see many of these grooves here on the wedge, and also here. You can see them everywhere, and these allow for, while we'll use this to have the ball, while your ball is moving forwards, all shots, even in the driver where you're trying to get as much distance, the ball is moving backwards while it's moving forwards. And so with the driver, you try to get the least, as we call this is backspin, so you try to get the least spin, and with the wedges, you try to get the most spin, so the ball essentially drops and stops. It doesn't move, or some people even manage to get it to move backward, which I still haven't yet managed. And so these increased wedges, the 588 RTX 2.0 is now the market's most wedge with the most backspin and feel, and so that's why they're my favorites, because I don't like my wedges moving, because I try to get it nearest to the hole and try to keep it there, and that's what all these grooves are for. Alright, so this is the Cleveland 588 Rotex face, and this is the club that I've cut open. You can see the grooves here on the club that allow for backspin on the ball. I'm going to go ahead and play some shots onto this green. And so for the irons, which, as I said, you can hit the ball within 100 to generally 180, 190 yards with them. You may have seen this is basically the main idea of golf, like this shape but more solid. And I chose to talk about the Callaway XR irons, which are the top irons on the market at this moment. And Callaway, the brand that has created them, are super proud of it. And this is a diagram showing the three main technologies in the Callaway XR irons. Here you have a low central gravity insert, or CGI, for a high MOI, which is a moment of inertia, which is a physics term. The moment of inertia is when you hit the ball and velocity starts, and so basically it sends the ball higher as well. When you have a lower center of gravity, it essentially sends the ball higher up, and that also helps with backspin, which you want for irons if you hit it towards the greens. And here and here you can see the 360 face cup, which is Callaway. Callaway are super happy with this, and this is their favorite type of technology that they put in many of their new irons. And essentially, this front cup fits into the back cup like this, and therefore creates a 360 face cup, which if the ball, let's say the ball hits from here, it basically this part flexes, and as I said earlier, it gives more bounce to the ball and sending it more distance. And this is a two. This part is the two. Callaway have also said that they make their XR irons with two pieces. So you can see here the shaft, which is the midsection of the club, this part, connecting to the club head, and then there's the face with a 360 face cup put on, and this helps with forgiveness, so you can hit it straighter. And if you hit a not that good of a shot, it won't go. The shot will be reasonable. It won't, for example, go way to the right or way to the left, as we call either a slice or a hook. These are the Callaway Big Bertha Alpha 816 black double black diamond woods, fairway woods, and this, as I said, is the next is the second. The woods are the second. The club that sends the most distance, second next to the driver. And this is Callaway's, as Golf Digest has said, this is ranked their top wood, and it's is Callaway's one of their most technically diverse clubs yet. There is a weight-saving crown and the titanium face for more forgiveness and bigger ball speed. And for the extra golf geek, there's these two adjustable weights for spin and launch. As we said, spin is when the ball moves backwards, and with the 3 wood you want to try to get the least spin possible, so when the ball hits the ground it continues running. And the launch is basically whether you want the ball to go higher or lower. Essentially, lower gives you more distance because it doesn't need to travel as much as when it goes high. Alright, so now we're moving into the big boys clubs. Okay, this driver is the Callaway XR16. Callaway have teamed up with Boeing, yes, Boeing, the aircraft manufacturer, to create this club. And what essentially they're trying to do, they want to offer more forgiveness while making the club aerodynamic, so you can also have a higher club head speed, which often these two details work against each other. But Callaway, they tried giving you a bigger face for more forgiveness, and then they handed Boeing the design of the club. And Boeing, as you can see, all these extra tunnels and grooves, and even on the top there's these few aerodynamic rifts to make the club very fast. And I've tried these clubs myself, and I can say the results are absolutely fantastic. Something very related to the driver is the shaft. So this is the midsection of the club. There's an extra, usually rubber part or synthetic rubber part of the golf club here, where you can hold the golf club. And then you have the midsection, and then usually the club head with the hosel here. The hosel here connecting the two. This part is the hosel. And so essentially the shaft, usually it's either graphite or steel, and you either have graphite or steel or in different flexes depending on your club swing speed in order to get the most distance. And I use a ladies flex, and I've tried other clubs as well, but I find like the extra bend from the ladies flex gives me much more distance and forgiveness in my shots.